Hello, hello, hello. So, this is going to be yet another amazing episode of the Better You Leadership Podcast. My name is Angela Odom. I am a life and leadership coach. I teach women, right? I teach women how to increase their skills and their leadership capacity. Today, we're doing a case study. We're doing a case study here and answering the question, what do we expect of people who are in power and authority? And so I will give you a minute to come on in. And so if you're watching this on replay, then of course you're going to put hashtag replay. Put something in the comments. Tell us what you think of what's going on. Go ahead and get your paper and pen out, or use your devices so that you might take notes, so that you might learn from this experience. That's the whole point, so that you might learn from this experience. And this is, again, Better You Leadership Podcast. My name is Angela Odom, and today we are focusing on a case study, and we will work through a few questions. So as you are coming on, go ahead and just let us know where you are listening and watching from. Let us know where you are listening and watching the Better You Leadership Podcast from. Good morning, Carrie. I already know you're in Minnesota. And again, we are excited today to go through a quick, non-unscientific case study. We're going to just take a look at, Mr. Cruz. He's a high-profile Republican who ran for the U.S. presidency in 2016, and he has drawn criticism for taking an international trip. Some people were more upset, I think, that he left his dog Snowflake behind than actually going on the trip. But we're just going to take a look at that. And, gloating, to gloat is a rookie move, right? A rookie move is to gloat. So we're not gloating. We're not making fun of. We're not trivializing. We're simply taking a look as leaders do, so that we might learn from the incident, the actual experience itself, so that we might grow. That's the whole point. That's what we're doing. So the question I'm asking you today is, what do we expect of people who are in positions of power and authority? And we will take a look. But first, a case study. That's what we're doing. So a case study, just so we're clear on what we're doing, a case study involves an up-close, in-depth, and detailed explanation of a particular, real-world context. Sometimes, if we were docs, in the medical profession, we might take a look at an individual patient or ailment. And if this was some kind of business, then we would cover a particular firm's strategy or broader market implications. We might look at that. Or if this politics, we can range from, narrow situations to something over time. Right? We might take, case study of World War II or something. But we're simply going to highlight an individual and just take a look at some facts, right? And again, of course, we're here at the Better You Leadership Podcast. This is only about 20 minutes, so it's not going to be that in depth. This is an opportunity for you to think through what you might do, right? So that's what we're doing today. Again, my name is Angela Odom. I'm a life and leadership coach, founder of the Better You Project brand, and I teach women how to increase their skills and leadership capacity. I'm also a very proud Army veteran. And so, we just looked at, what a case study is. And now we just want to take a look at the background, right? The background. So amidst the backdrop of a global pandemic, a visceral November 3rd general election where former President Donald Trump lost to the now 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden. And Donald he refused to acknowledge the loss, right? And he inspired some of his supporters to storm the Capitol in Washington, D.C. on January 6th of 2021 in an attempt, I guess he was just going to remain in office indefinitely, which is unconstitutional. So Ted Cruz, who is the focus of our case study today, was one of the 6 U.S. senators to reject the Electoral College's vote on January 6th. This was after the insurrectionists stormed the U.S. Capitol. Trump called on his supporters to come to Washington, D.C. on January 6th, on that day that Congress was counting the votes. After that, January 6th was horrible. Ted Cruz stood up for that, right? The second impeachment trial of Donald Trump began on February 9th, and then it concluded with an acquittal on Saturday, February 13th. And so why is that significant? That was because the Senate was in session in Washington, D.C. As the storm was moving across the nation, really, right? The storm was moving across the nation. I think it began like on the 11th. So that would have been like that Thursday, February 11th. And, more than a third of the continental U.S. was recording below zero temperatures. There was snow, icy roads, and power outages. They were beginning to paralyze cities across the country. Now, this was, we could see it in the news happening. So among them was the state of Texas, which they were beginning to feel the impacts of this. And so you say Thursday, February 11th, when this cold front, this storm was moving in. And then in the middle of this, of course, the Senate is participating in the impeachment trial, visceral, all this discontent, right? A lot of back and forth, strong personalities coming out of this. One strong personality, one leader was Ted Cruz, right? And so why is this significant? It is significant. It is important to look at it in the backdrop is that this gentleman, this senator is not a person who would really care about what a whole bunch of other people think about his actions. That's significant as we look at what we expect our people in positions of power and authority to do. So he is charismatic. He's a Harvard grad, and he is a leader, right? And so at the same time, Dallas dipped to like 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the coldest temperature the city had seen since 1989. And they're all throughout the this particular week, like February 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, the electric grid, Texas electric grid, was failing. Some canceled this organization that runs the state's grid, decided that they needed to do rolling blackouts, power outages all over the state of Texas. That's like 29 million people, all those homes, whether they are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, non-voters or not, they're people. And so this is what's happening. We're going through the case study, but just sharing with you what happened, right? In demonstrating the type of person Ted Cruz is, someone who stands up to others, speaks confidently about what he wants to do, right? That's what he demonstrated the week prior to this incident. And so, you start looking at the, people attempting to stay warm by, starting to, some people even was burning their furniture to stay warm because it was cold, right? And it was carbon monoxide. People were in their cars. Some died. I think the count is 20 something at this point, people dying. And so this is serious. Roads treacherous because Texas just not used to this type of weather, right? And so, we start looking at, well, what happened? First of all, let's just go back to what position Ted Cruz holds. And so the U.S. Congress is a bicameral elected body consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives, right? So, we look at that for every state, there are 2 senators, a total of 100, and there are 435 members of the House of Representatives. So the senators are elected every 6 years. The representatives are elected every 2 years. So they're like always churning on the, attempting to be elected. Ted Cruz's last election was in 2018. So, he has 6 years. So towards that 2024 when he comes up for election. So, just think about that. So senators represent the interests of their citizens, their state's citizens. They write and support legislation and vote on bills. They divide their time between their home states and Washington, D.C. And they spend a considerable amount of time with their constituents, fellow lawmakers, and, they attend Senate sessions. So the 2 senators from Texas, Ted Cruz, first name is Raphael. I don't know why he uses that or don't use it, but anyway, Ted Cruz. And then the other one is John Cornyn, Cornyn. Both of them are Republicans. John Cornyn did not vote to support the rejection of the Electoral College. Ted Cruz stood alone, right? John Cornyn, I don't know if we've even heard of him during his last week. Like, what was he doing while Ted Cruz decided to take an international trip, right? I don't know. He was, whatever he was doing, like the rest of the people, right? Taking care of his family and his neighbors. We don't know. We don't know that one way or the other. We just know that Ted Cruz, this is who we're taking a look at. So what happened, as we're going through this case study, looking at Ted Cruz's decision to take an international trip while, the disaster was unfolding in his state. And we're answering that question, what do we expect of people who are in positions of power and authority? Just using this situation without gloating, without, pointing the fingers, that kind of stuff, just taking a look at it so that we can step back, right? And know how to handle things when something comes our way, because it will. So first, Ted Cruz was spotted in an airport by a social media user. So like somebody's like, oh, that's Ted Cruz, hold up. And then, they posted it. That's what we do, right? Post things on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what's that, TikTok, all LinkedIn, all these things. We post it immediately. That's what we as a society, that's our behavior. We post it. And so, stepping back there and say, well, didn't he know people were going to see him and recognize him? He didn't care, right? At that point, that was not a consideration. So self-awareness is one thing, just to, let's just put that to the side, self-awareness. So he was first spotted and someone posted it, some unknown person. So typically in a disaster, people in this kind of role, they're communicating with the federal branch, with the president. Although the president, you think about what happened a week prior, not sure if Ted Cruz would be talking to Joe Biden, seriously. But right? Think about the optics of that. He probably was more aware of that than anything. So basically, we would expect for him to address the immediate needs of the district or the state, right? So what he did in his capacity as a senator, from me, I'm just reading and scouring the internet. I don't know these people, right? So the first official move for he and John Cornyn, they wrote a letter on February 14th to request for federal emergency disaster relief. And I think it's by Saturday, the Biden administration said, yes, of course, they supported it. So he did what was, I guess, the obligation of the office, right? So yeah, he did that part. Of course, the governor is at that time going around doing interviews and that kind of thing, and distracting people with foolishness as opposed to just focusing on, hey, how do we keep these people safe? Right? That's my perspective. So that's where we are, right? And I think just step back and say, well, what's the big deal? That was some of the questions that people were saying. What could he have done? What could he have done? And we step back and we say, well, earlier in the week he had made some tweet. he had been very vocal about supporting an insurrection. So he's already in the spotlight. He was already in the spotlight, and knowing that perhaps may have made some different choices. But either way, so he is, trying to figure out what he should do now and what you and I should do now, right? So we went through what is a case study, and then the background of a senator's responsibility, where what they are tasked to do, what the Constitution says they would do, and then what he actually did. And so we're looking again. The question is, what do we expect from people in positions of authority? And we're just using Ted Cruz. I think it's a good thing to understand the colossal failure of the grid and the impact on people's lives, the suffering that people, men, women, boys, girls, were enduring or still are. Because first it was the power grid, so no lights, no way to cook unless you had a stove, or you were, going to do something outside like other people may have done. So you think about the colossal failure of the power grid. And so once the power was coming back on, then the water was the issue. Pipes were bursting. So people they were cold, thirsty, hungry, all those things. And stores the shelves were empty in grocery stores, and some are opening. However, they're not, because of the roads, those conditions, the trucks are not able to get in to resupply. Even now, like 7 days, 8 days later. So this is huge, and people are still suffering and dying. Oh, by the way, we're still in a global pandemic. And so we want to, just take a look at what he did. He lied. He got caught in a few lies of saying why he went, how long he was going to stay. And, he went on conducted some press interviews, and simply got caught in some lies. And so what do we expect from our leaders? First, we expect you to be honest. I do remember when I served in the U.S. Army, stationed in Alaska, temperatures going down to 55 below zero, and we trained anyway, right, in all different types of weather. And I remember we would have on our baklava, which is a headgear all the way over, eyes are out, nose is covered, and your mouth is right here, right? And I remember the eyelids, um, like icicles, literally freezing. Um, and doing our running formation, right? Remember me in the front, um, leading the formation. And that back in those days, I could run with the wind in a long time. And so my role was to inspire and to lead, right? To keep running. That was my role, keep running and to actually participate. So I couldn't hide inside of the building while the soldiers were outside running. That was crazy. So what I do? I ran in front. Now, I didn't determine the direction we would go. I did not determine most times how long we would go. That was the detachment sergeant. And he would, you know, make sure people were doing the cadence calling, which is singing and inspiring people to keep running. He would make sure that the people who fell out of the formation were safe, put somebody back there with them to keep up with them. And what do? I keep running, so that they can see me, right? So in the case of Ted Cruz, what could he have done? Maybe he could have done like Beto O'Rourke, the man who actually lost to him, not a politician. He reached out, activated his phone tree, calling millions of Texans. And he apparently, not him himself, was one of the phone people on the making the phone calls. Actually found people who were dying, thirsty, hungry, and connected him with, some help, community help close to where they were, right? Checking on people. That's what he was doing, wellness checks. So what could he have done? So I think it was U.S. Representative Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called or text one of the Texas congresswoman, and said, "Hey, what can I do to help?" And she said, we're in dire need. So what did AOC? That's what they call it, AOC. And she's like a lightning rod for controversy, and she just stands up to it. Thank goodness. Same as Ted Cruz, he just stands up to it. Thank goodness, right? So she raised, I think it's up to $3 or $4 million now for charities that are supporting the Texans. And so she flew to Texas, and some kind of way, I think there was put her finger in their eye also, like, okay, hello, because they, as in she's a Democrat, they're Republicans, always going at it, right? Foolishness, both of them distracting from, what's really going on. But anyway, so AOC, Congresswoman AOC, went down, and they worked at a food bank. I think she's selected 10 different charities. 100% of the monies would go to those charities, and went down and packed some food in boxes, got some photo ops. But at the same time, that food bank, those people in the area will be able to get some help. So what could he have done? What could he have done? Maybe some of those things. And so what did he do eventually after he stopped going on those publicity tours? He actually went to some one of those places, to food banks or something. I don't know what it was, some kind of charity organization, and got him some photo ops, right? So that's what he could have done in the beginning, blaming his daughters. His wife is all apparently pissed off because her friends leaked their text messages. Give me a break with all that drama and foolishness. People are hurting. So what could he have done? What do we expect of people in power, in authority? These people, what do we expect? We expect for them to inspire, right? We expect for them to be truthful. That's what we expect. Now, once we, look back in this, we're in February 2021, and Ted Cruz is going to be just fine, right? Texas eventually will move past this, because that's what we do as Americans, right? There would be whatever voters would do in Texas, that's what they would do. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're focused on. What we want to know is the decision to fly to Cancun, Mexico, when the CDC says, we shouldn't even been, we Americans need to be careful about this and all that kind of stuff. Carrie says the question is, did he really go or use old pictures? There was no snow in the pictures he posted. Wow. See, I don't even know. There's so much foolishness surrounding it. And of course, I'm here in Georgia, so I don't know what he actually did. Don't know. It is how he handled it and what do we expect, right? So he and his family did what they did or did not do what they did. People taking pictures of the little dog. I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy too, but whatever. The point is, so what will you do in the midst of being with somebody taking a picture of you doing something that is unexpected, that is disappointing, that is it's going to cause people to say, oh my God, what would you do? First, I would say to own it, right? Own it, because that's what he did. That's what Ted Cruz did after the vote to reject the electoral college's vote. That's what he owned it. And so just be consistent, buddy, right? Own it. That's what I would say. Own it. And to, I think at one point he did say, oh, that was a mistake for me to even go. I realized it at some point. And so that was what I would expect. Own it. Hey, I made a mistake. Let me move on. And now he's back to all of this other distractions. Not what I would do, but that's what he did, right? So it is not about Ted Cruz. It's not about Angela Odom. It's not about either one of us. It's about you in the situations. What do you expect from people in powers and positions of power and authority? And what do people expect of you? Because you're in a position to inspire someone to determine their workflow. You're in that position. You're in a position to determine whether or not someone's get a raise or not, or get some kind of get a new project so they can demonstrate their skills. And so what do you do when you are found to have disappointed, when you have found to have done something that is like, oh, that was odd. I didn't expect that from you. I had you on a pedestal, right? And so what do you do? And, we talked about communication previously. I would go back and make sure that the message, the intention, what you are, what you value is consistently, relayed. That's the point. Because in the end, what we're doing is we're growing and evolving. So own up to it. That's the first thing. You do something crazy, and whether or not that was your intent. If it was his intent to go and spend time with his family after such a contentious months, years, really, it's going to take this week because now they're back, and looking at they're back in Washington now. So if there was his intent to take a mental break, then perhaps he could have said that, right? There are some other things. Of course, this is like the Monday morning quarterback thing, but I want you to just consider, what do you do as a person that's in a position to influence others, right? Because what we're doing is we're getting results, and we're asking people to trust us. We're asking people to invest in our vision. That's what we're doing. And so how do you keep that person focused on doing what it is you've asked them to do if they cannot trust you? That's what it comes down for me. So in this case study, we've taken a look at Ted Cruz's decision to take an international trip while his state was and still is going through power outages and water shortages and people dying. And so that was the situation. So the question, you are to answer that. That's why you have your notes, right? So you're to journal. And that is the question is, what would I do? Without any visceral condemnation of Ted Cruz himself or support for his decision. Either way, it's not about him. This is a case study. So we look and see, what might we do? Right. And so that's where we are. So again, my name is Angela Odom. I am a life and leadership coach, founder of the Better You Project. I'm also a very proud Army veteran. Today we had took a few minutes just to look at a case study so that we might answer the question for ourselves. What do we expect of people who are in positions of power and authority during a crisis? What do we expect? When we mess up, when that person makes a mistake, intentionally or not, what do we expect? And then we always project.
From your calendar.
Alexa, stop.
Interrupting.
So what do we expect? And the same things that we're expecting is what people are expecting of us. So with that said, I will end this episode by inviting you to go ahead and register for the next round of the Women's 3-Hour Leadership Intensive. That's on March 13th, beginning at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's Eastern time. All times are Eastern time. I'm in Georgia, right? And we invite you to go ahead to go to angelaodom.com, and register. We look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, let us know what you think about this particular episode. Take care, and may the good Lord continue to bless you. We are intending for you to be a better you. That's the whole point. Better you. My name is Angela Odom, and as always, I'm rooting for you.